So I think more people is coming later, but because, yes, this is a very short roundtable, so let's begin. Is it okay? Okay. So thank you everyone for participating in the roundtable hosted by Chemical. I am Yu Honma, and I will be moderating this roundtable today. So before we start, there is a technical instruction to be shared. So please use the Q&A button for questions. We will address these questions during the final discussion, basically. And for technical comments, like the audio is not transmitted or audio quality is not very good, please use the chat box. So we are for Japanese audience, we are experimentally providing automatic translation subtitles created by ChatGPT via YouTube Live. So there might be a slight delay, maybe 1 second delay, but please access the YouTube Live if needed. And the URL of the YouTube Live will be provided in the chat box. Yes, chat box. So to begin the roundtable, I would like to invite Nozomi Ikea, the director of Chemical, to give the opening address.
Hello everyone. Thank you for joining our roundtable today. In particular, I thank speakers for being here today from Singapore and Melbourne and Kyushu. Thank you, Ie and Elena and Misako. Thank you. Chemical, Keio Museum Commons, is now in its 4th year of operation. We have continued to engage in activities with the participation of students. For example, when we have exhibitions, we ask our student group, which consists of students with different background, to create and present plans that deal with the content of the exhibition from their own perspectives, which we believe expands the possibilities for various visitors, including students, the local community, and alumni, to understand the exhibition and encourage our diverse engagement. Thus, the student participation can be said to embody Chemical's concept of Akichi, an open space for community collections, which is open to public. Student participation in museum is still in infancy in Japan. We are definitely feeling the positive response, but at the same time, we are still going through a process of trial and error. We have decided to hold this roundtable in the hope that we can share what we have done so far and learn from other museums around the world that are implementing similar student participation initiatives. I hope this will be a good opportunity, an excellent opportunity to exchange ideas and learn from each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ikea Sensei. And I think you said all of my the explanation about the topic, so I think I can skip my explanation. But I have a draft here, so I will read anyway. So today's topic is expanding the student participation in university museums. So student engagement is always a central concern for university museums. And students can engage with university museums in various ways. For example, they participate as students taking lessons using collections or attending courses in museum studies, or as managers handling public relations, or as curators leading special exhibitions. So students play very active roles in various areas of university museums. From the opening, Chemical tried to multiply, so diversify the ways of student participation and to invite students from various disciplines, not just those interested in culture or humanities. But as Ikea Sensei said, Chemical is a kind of very young university museum, so we are still navigating many aspects and have organized this roundtable to learn from various practices. So today we have invited professionals from university museum across the Asian Pacific region who are engaged in very unique and challenging activities to share their practices, challenges, and experiences. So in organizing this roundtable, we received huge support from our colleagues in the University Museum Network worldwide. So the UMAC in ICOM and the Japanese University Museum Association. So I would like to express my gratitude to them. So we will begin with short lectures from 4 university museums. Afterward, we will highlight key points from the lectures and discuss them. Please use the Q&A button for any questions. We will address them during the final discussion. So the first presenter is Goki and me, you, from Chemco. So a very quick introduction of each presenter. So Goki's research interest lies in the intersection of user experience, design, and digital public humanities, ranging from theory, design methods, and implementation, with a particular focus on cultural heritage. At Chemco, he is co-responsible for the organization and operation of the digital collections platform, KO Object Hub, publication studio here, the Chemco Studio, and educational activities. And me, Yu Honma, is an archivist and curator at Keio University Arts Center and Keio Museum Commons. And I have been involved with several projects concerning archives, university museums, and digital humanities. And as a launching member, I took part in the planning of Keio Museum Commons, including concept design, activity planning, and actual building planning, and so on. So let's start the presentation. Okay. Yes. Okay. And there's camera. So
Again.
Okay. Okay. It's okay. Let's go.
Okay, thank you very much, Yu Sensei, for the introduction. So our presentation is entitled "The Student Voices: Amplifying Student Perspectives in the University Museum." And first, you will give a short introduction about what is Keio Museum Commons.
Okay, here is you again. So Keio Museum Commons Chemical is a university museum that opened 3 years ago. So it's our 4th year, and it opened in 2021. And Keio University is one of Japan's oldest universities under the modern university system, with a history spanning 160 years without major relocations or reorganization. Typically, such historic universities have multiple museums, but Keio did not have a museum covering the entire university until Chemco was established. Although there was no university-wide museum, Keio had many collections deeply connected to research and educational activities. These collections were scattered across various locations, such as libraries, archives, department storage rooms, and professors' offices, remaining rather invisible to each other. Therefore, we created Chemco as Commons, a place to serve as a gathering point for collections and individuals connected to them. And in Japan, the term Commons kind of evokes the idea of a free playground for children, or akichi, a place where loosely connected friends gather to play with temporary tools and ideas they bring. We aim for Chemco to be such a place within the university, a creative open space where various people bring collections and ideas, exchange them, and try out their thoughts. So who are these various people? So there are a large number of people in the university. Keio has around 2,700 around faculty staff and 3,300 administrators and 41,000 students on campus. So, needless to say, students are the largest population at Keio, and working with them is very important for chemical, apparently. There already existed several activities connecting students with university collections. For example, the museum study course, it's a kind of curator license course in Japan, uses art and archaeology collections in their practical training. The archaeology department regularly hosts student-planned exhibitions in various places on campus. When we opened Chemical, while referring to these activities, we tried to expand them based on the concept of commons, akichi. We explored ways to engage with students more freely beyond the framework of museum studies or cultural heritage studies. For example, during these 3 years, Chemical experimented with several approaches. So the first is archaeology exhibition in 2023. So Chemical organized an archaeology exhibition in collaboration with graduate students from the archaeology department to create participatory exhibition. This example is discussed in a short research note in the Chemical Review, our journal. And Chemical Staircase Lab, this project started last year, aimed to bridge different academic communities, especially seminars on campus, by using the power of exhibition to tell stories and give shape to processes and ideas. We collaborated with a sociology seminar from the Faculty of Law, and I will share the outcome of this Staircase Lab project in the coming UMAC Dresden conference. And another one is Chemical Peer Learning Series. And this series includes lectures and interview sessions planned by undergraduate students supported by Chemical. The project aims to identify and invite students interested in culture and the cultural industry who are otherwise invisible on campus. And we have student curatorial assistant group called Chemical, who are in charge of several activities, including the SNS or blog publication. And among these various practices, today, Goki will introduce the most organized and vibrant example of student engagement at Chemical, the ChemCom project. So he will share our outcomes, difficulties, and questions for later discussion.
Thank you very much, Yu-san. So in the following talk, the spotlight will be on student staff members collectively called the ChemCom project. So this project empowers students to lead the development of cross-media work, fostering collaboration between diverse disciplines. And ChemCom brings together a vibrant mix of undergrad and grad students. And they explore the field of digital public humanities, where the students act as the main key drivers for public engagement. Within the ChemCom project, their work centers around digital engagement, exhibition design, and workshop facilitation, which I will discuss in further details later in this talk. The building of Chemical itself is located at Mita Campus, Tokyo, and the building has 11 floors above ground. And the Chemical Studio, the base for the students of the Chemical project, is located on the 8th floor. The studio is a physical space to learn about the relationship between digital and physical objects through actual hands-on experience. The I&O in studio captures the essence of input and output. The I, input, refers to the process of digitizing universities' cultural assets, transforming them as digital objects and showcasing them in the virtual and digital spaces. And the output, the O, refers to the broader sharing and practical use of digital information in both tangible and intangible ways within the university and beyond. The project is mainly led by 3 faculty members, including Yusa and myself, where each of us brings in different expertise, such as computer science, art history, and media design. And the students. they all come from diverse backgrounds and with different skill sets. As shown in this slide, sorry, the text is a bit small, but every year the students participating in this ChemCom varies across different faculties and departments at Keio University. Around 12 to 14 students join every year, and the highest number comes from the Department of Aesthetics and Science of Arts, because it's obvious because I major in arts.
Yes.
But we also have students from business, commerce, information studies, and other departments as well. So these students and faculty members work closely together in the museum setting, while there are other important stakeholders in the context of university museum, such as administrators who ensure operational needs within the university and further leverage the museum's public-facing role, and the partners and collaborating institutions who enhance the research capacity and educational experience for a broader audience. And of course, the visitors who engage with exhibits and programs and bring their own unique experience to the museum. The entire ChemCom project is conducted within these steps, a framework as shown in the slide. Instead of focusing on creating finished products, students gain experience by building prototypes, gaining feedbacks, and refining them. Having the students as key drivers, first the inspiration phase starts with discussion and research. Then next, at the ideation phase, they continue researching and start making prototypes and testing them. And at the implementation phase, the outputs become available to the public, yet the students still continue refining and developing the outputs by welcoming feedbacks. And in each stage, a list of stakeholders such as students, faculties, admins, partners, and the visitors are actively involved. Having the students in the center of all steps, each stakeholder plays an important role in the design flow process. Yet, I would like to note that the flow itself looks like a straightforward linear process, but in practice, it's more iterative, where the students constantly revisit and revise earlier steps based on new insights they gain. And having this framework as a foundation, their work is structured around three interconnected pillars: digital engagement, exhibition design, and workshop facilitation. And moving forward, I'll present several case studies, starting with examples of digital engagement. The digital engagement is a practice that blends artistic exploration with digital interactions, and they fall into three main categories. First, the kawaii contents. The kawaii means cute in Japanese and Japan's context, and they make and publish kawaii contents on SNS posts, such as AR filters, which is available on Instagram, which is designed specifically for the younger demographic users. And the next is the 3D representations, such as 3D models and 3D virtual exhibition, which offer a new way of appreciating objects in the virtual and online environment. For this, the students designed a web interface named Chemical 360 View. The interface enables online users to walk around the virtual exhibition room, where we also connected a link to the digital collection platform, Keio Object Hub, which allows the users to take a deeper look at the specific object. And the aesthetic visualization. Within this category, students create a photogenic and interactive experience through projection mapping and digital media. This is a collaboration work they've done with the junior high school students. The students did the calligraphy, and the digital visualizations were created by the ChemCom project members. Those were the examples from the design engagement. And now I'll move on to the exhibition design. The exhibition rooms are on the third floor, where we hold 4 to 5 exhibitions a year. Yet in this talk, I would like to pick up one exhibition we had last year and go through the framework in detail. The exhibition was entitled A Journey Through Painting, the Expansive World of Zen Meditation.
Zen, yeah.
Which focus on Zen Buddhist art. As shown in the slide, while the Zen Buddhist artworks are very beautiful and thoughtfully created, the simplicity of the work limits the appeal to a wider audience who seek more like greater visual richness or more stimulating artistic experiences. So the students designed and made a series of accessible experiments to provide a deeper understanding of the art and the history behind the exhibition, such as Petit Zen space where the visitors could just take off their shoes and sit and relax and meditate, and the mobile guide, an interactive app that provides detailed information about the artworks and its historical context, and a self-published booklet named Kozu. And here, I'd like to focus on the design flow of the booklet Kozu. It's called Zin, and I'm not sure if everyone knows about Zin, so let's start with what is Zin. So Zin derived from the words magazine or fanzine, and it is usually called for a self-published book. It has a quite long history, yet in Japan, these zines have boomed in recent years. There's many titles like festivals and articles about zine. And Chemcom has been producing and publishing zines since 2022, 2 years ago. The title of zine is Kozu, a term that combines the ko from the word commons and z from zin and also from Generation Z. Generation Z.
Generation Z?
Yes.
Zin? Generation Z?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And for volume 03, a special issue for the Zen Buddhist art exhibition, the design flow started with interviewing and having a discussion with a domain expert, where the student got inspired by the originality and ingenuity of Buddhist art. Then next, during the research stage, they visited a university museum that showed traditional artworks and writings to broaden their knowledge in showing classical art forms. They also experienced Suibokuga, a Japanese monochrome ink painting, to acquire deeper knowledge of the Buddhist painting method itself. Then after making prototypes, they collaboratively worked on designing a total 18-page zine and bonded the zine by themselves by using the sewing machine. They then published the zine and gained feedback from the visitors, which guides their design and also the editorial decisions for the next issue, which is now in production for the ongoing exhibition. And as you can see in the slide, and there's also the thing over here, but the content or color, not only the content or the color, but also the shape and form and size and the building methods are changing, and the many aspects are constantly being refined. So next I'll talk about the workshop facilitation. For workshop facilitation, I'd like to focus on the 10 days workshop series, which focus on climate change education. For this 10-day workshop series, we work together with junior high school students and teachers to broaden and deepen the understanding of climate change. After the learning phase about climate related topics through lectures and discussions. The students captured the exhibition venue as an environment presenting the ocean and the forest, and expressed the place to convey messages about climate change as message from the sea and the message from the forest by using some wood chips and other trashes. They reuse the trash and waste generated at the school and on campus. And during the exhibition, the participants showed around the artworks to the visitors by themselves, which was full of interaction and experience-based works. There's, Ikia-sensei.
Yes.
And overall, the shared learning atmosphere fostered personal growth and development. ChemCon project members served as both participants and facilitators, while the younger junior and high school students provided fresh ideas and perspectives throughout the workshop. So that was a case study from the workshop facilitation. And now I'd like to give a quick summary of the lessons we learned throughout these studies.
4 minutes.
Okay, I think I can make it. We learned that having the students as key drivers, together with other stakeholders such as administrators and partners, we are able to attract a wider range of visitors and create a more engaging experience. And through collaborating with these diverse stakeholders, we as one university museum are able to break down the barriers between the academic and public sphere and further extend our reach to the wider public. And these are the 3 key insights we gained. Our first major lesson has been the power of student ownership and leadership. It's about fostering an environment where the students feel empowered. And the second is about acknowledging the difference. University museums should celebrate diversity and create a space where everyone feels valued and their contributions are recognized. And the third one is the importance of using technology purposefully. It is crucial to strike a balance between digital and traditional analog approaches, create a meaningful museum experience. And this is the last slide. At the discussion session, I would like to explore 2 key discussion points. First is about providing academic credit or recognition. At ChemCo, we don't offer credit, but pay a reward for their work. It's a small amount, but we acknowledge their work, the student work through paying. Yet, I would like to hear and discuss how other museums are working on this. And the second is about evaluating the impact of students' involvement. There should be no doubt that by understanding the impact, it allows us to refine and improve the museum activities. At ChemCo, we take surveys and conduct interviews, but are there other or alternative ways in conducting this evaluation or assessment? I would like to hear from all participants and also from the floor and the audience who's joining. So please feel free to write your thoughts or comments on the chat box. So that was all from me, from us. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So I will check the Q&A, but I think we don't have any questions so far.
Okay.
So we are quickly moving to the next presenter. So the next presenter is Ye from National University of Singapore. And maybe we can stop the screen sharing right now. Yeah. Yes. And Ye Tu is a program executive at NAS Museum. He is responsible for leading the conceptualization, planning, and execution of curatorial and public programs. Ye actively collaborates with curators, artists, students, and faculty from the NAS community to apply their depth of knowledge and extend the cultural conversation in multiple directions, enriching the university's learning environments. So now I would like to hand it over to Ye. Are you ready?
Yes, I am. Let me just share my screen really quick.
Okay, thank you.
Oh. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So before I start my presentation, I would just like to firstly thank the Keio University Museum Commons and Oma-san for inviting me to be on this panel. So I'm really excited to share with everyone what we've been up to at the NUS Museum in terms of student involvement and outreach recently. Right. So my name is Yetu. I'm a programs executive at the National University of Singapore, or NUS Museum, where I work on public and curatorial programs. So my presentation today will be split into two main sections, science and responses. In the first part, in science, I will be going through how we organize and form the pedagogical foundation for our outreach programs. In the second part, on responses, I'll be going through two of our latest student involvement programs as case studies, one that has just been completed and then one that we're about to kickstart in a few weeks' time. All right, so just a little background before I start. NUS Museum aims to actively facilitate intellectual and cultural life within and beyond the university. With a distinct focus on Asia, the museum contributes to and facilitates the production, reception, and preservation of knowledge through collections development and curatorial practice. Right. So students have been involved in all aspects of museum work, responding to the tides of changes in collections, curatorial projects, and outreach programs. So student interns are beyond assistance for us. Instead, they work alongside the museum staff, bringing their own expertise from their own academic disciplines to the collaborative process. Right. So for example, in 2013, we had a photography exhibition featuring works from the NUS community. And for the exhibition, our intern Vince modeled, designed, and co-curated the space with us. Right. So students are not only artists, but also co-producers of knowledge within the museum. Right, so generally our approach to outreach programs can be summed as such. The curatorial forms the exhibitionary content and modes of research or inquiry, while collections forms the foundation of ways of access and construing knowledge via public programs or our long-standing internship program, and of course, course collaborations. Right. So, but today, for this talk, I want to bring your attention to strategies that we've utilized in two of our most recent programs. We have a new prep room exhibition called The How and the Rig. I will share a bit more about the exhibition in a little bit. So essentially, the curatorial inquiries and the research from the exhibition form the pedagogical framework for how we think about student engagement for masterclass series and a museum lab. Right, so a little bit more about the exhibition as a context. So prep rooms at the NUS Museum are envisioned as sites for exploration of curatorial development of content and scopes in the lead up to various upcoming projects. So the prep room allows audiences to observe the exhibition making process and engage with the subject matter. So prep rooms are a mix of archival material, artwork, artifacts, and they're activated by a mix of curators, researchers, artists, and interns. Right, so prep rooms are constantly evolving projects with materials and voices constantly added. So if you were to visit the NUS Museum now, you might look at the exhibition a bit differently in a few months' time because the space might have changed. So it's quite a fluid space in that sense, right? So in the Han, the rig, the main threads of inquiry are as such. So first, as the name of the exhibition suggests, we're looking at the epistemology of boats in the Malay world as mis- or reinterpreted by Western cultures of knowledge, right? Where indigenous seafaring people identify the boats by the hull being the vessel. Western conventions of classifying the ships, they classify it via the rig, so meaning the sail, right? So another thread of inquiry is on object history and the biography of these boat models, right? So these boat models that you see on the screen, they have been to different cultural institutions, first at the Singapore Maritime Museum in 1975, and then at the Malay Heritage Center from 2013, right? And it has finally landed in our care. So we question how object histories are shaped by the context in which they existed in and the purpose of display. Right, and naturally, our research also covers the embodied maritime experiences of craftspeople behind the boats. So they were made by actual boat makers, right? So it is important for us to highlight the communality and the culture of vernacular knowledge production and dissemination in the Malay world. So given this context, I will now be going through how these research inquiries has shaped recent programs that we've done. So I'll be highlighting two programs as case studies for everyone today. So this is a program that we've just recently ran, and it was a 4-week program that we saw about 25 participants from high school all the way to postgraduate students, right? And they're all from various disciplinary backgrounds. So we had students from architecture, arts and cultural, entrepreneurship, fine art, history, industrial design, Japanese studies, Malay studies, psychology, political science, right? So our body of student audiences are extremely diverse, and naturally, the way we curate our student involvement programs have to hold space for this interdisciplinary conversations to happen and responses to take place. Right, so bringing back the research inquiries just now. So each session of the museum lab is aimed at making the research inquiries from the prep room exhibition accessible for a diverse group of students, right? So how might we consider an art pedagogy that is rooted in the curatorial and collections research? Right, so we first start off with an introductory session on visual cultures, so guiding students to understand their own position within the intricate web of communities that they inhabit. So the session examines the visual as the fundamental medium in the production of knowledge and practices, right? The session aims to shed light on internal biases that are subtle but significant in the way we perceive things, right? So these concepts are not fixed, but they're fluid, so shaped by various factors such as cultural norms, societal expectations, and personal experiences, right? So ultimately, we question, how do you see and how do you relate to objects, media, and images, right? And in the next session, we slowly move from object to collection, right? In the second session, students are introduced to the fundamental curatorial activity of articulating objects and artworks and interpreting them in the context of being a part of collections, right? So objects garner the meaning, value, and biography through the routes of representation in various institutions, and when they cohabit other objects and exhibitions as well, right? So the session toggles between object description and interpretation, and developing a literacy towards cultural curatorial decisions in the education of objects. And the third week looked a bit differently. We took everyone to an offshore island in Singapore. So in this next session, we took students to an offshore island called St. John's Island to meet Fauzi, who comes from a lineage of boat craftspeople. The session prompts students to consider how they might respond to the collection of objects that they've been building up in the past 2 weeks. Right, so through a workshop on boat making, we asked them to consider different aspects of programmatic responses, things like tactility, oral histories, material cultures, embodied knowledges, and the ecology of knowledge production and dissemination, right? So all of which are really important considerations when we're responding to collections through programs. Right, so take this group's example to response, for example, right? So through the collection of objects from the NUS Museum, they explore the social and economic foundations of how idols are formed in Singapore, right? So they looked at things like topics like landscapes of Singapore state canons, for example. They looked at icons of the racialized feminine figure, and they also looked at the spread of religious and spiritual iconography, for example, right? And as a response to this, they developed a self-guided tour around Singapore. So this is a self-guided tour around Singapore's central business district, highlighting public art and sculptures with a new lens of how we might consider their presence, knowing the social and economic foundations. Right. So taking lessons from this museum lab, 10 students go on to work within the museum's various museum units, but also develop 2 group projects. So with these group projects, we aim to kind of foster a sense of agency in the students in reframing, reinterpreting, and utilizing the museum's collections, right? So as an example, so one of the projects is a series of student-led tours. So 4 students are currently working with me to come up with their own tours that connect different pieces from the exhibitions across our museum. So these tours are personal to each of the students with their own topics and discussions they aim to foster, right? So for example, take Kyla's tour as an example, right? So Kyla questions the portrayal of femininity in art from the region and how motherhood might reshape this representation of femininity. Right. In Alex's tour, she traces the lineage of contemporary knowledge in Singapore of Singapore's development, and how might the pieces in her tour question our understanding of the state's canonical stories, right? So another group is working on an extension of the museum in the form of a movable museum or a mobile museum that serves as a platform for curatorial projects beyond the museum space, right? So they are exploring the mobile museum's placemaking potential for outreach and programming in different forms and sites across the campus, right? So this also opens up opportunities for us to collaborate with different stakeholders within the university campus, right? So students can submit open call proposals in which we feature their works around the campus on these mobile museum units, right? So in the interest of time, I'll briefly cover an upcoming masterclass series called Currents that we're currently working on. In Currents, we launched an open call for about 10 participants with emerging art practices influenced by their own academic disciplines. So over 3 weeks, the participants will go through the masterclasses facilitated by local artists, academics, and our museum staff to develop their own proposed works and install them as works in progress in a prep room. Right, so similar to Museum Lab, the pedagogy for this masterclass series also stems from the research inquiries of the exhibition, right? So they form the curatorial foundation for how we approach the briefs given to the facilitators and how the participants approach the art practice as well. Right, so in the last session, the participants will present what they have produced during the course of the masterclass. The works produced are introductions to their art practices, also as impulses to expand on the original work with an innate immediacy kind of demanded from a short month-long of masterclasses and seeing and making, right? So there are works in progress that are open-ended, just as prep rooms are, right? So we hope to expand on the narratives within the exhibition, the How and the Rate, and constantly adding more voices to the conversation around maritime heritage and cultures and how our perception of the sea and Singapore as an island are constantly evolving, right? So with participants from various backgrounds, we again aim to hold space for a rhizomatic space where interdisciplinary practices can foster through conversation and co-creating. Right, so bringing back this diagram earlier, so with the projects the students are working on, the relationships between student involvement and curatorial aren't as linear as we depicted here. The internship projects extend beyond the 3 months that they are attached to us for, right? So they give us new perspectives into how we might rethink curatorial inquiries and research, right? So doing so creates a cyclical relationship between outreach and curatorial and collections, right? Where the pedagogical foundation stems from the curatorial and the collections, outreach and student involvement reframes these inquiries and feed back into the way we think and develop our curatorial collections access, right? So I think my discussion for today would be about how my student responses to the work of curatorial collections create a cyclical relationship. Yeah, and I think with that, I'll end my presentation here for now.
Thank you so much, Ye, for your wonderful presentation. It is so exciting. I think I need quite a lot of time to digest because your project is very gigantic and have a great variety. And I think, yes, we have not a question, but one request from the audience that, so these presentations are very interesting. Is it possible to be emailed the presentation slide after the session? Ooh. So, but we are going to publish this roundtable. So maybe the slide, not all of the slide, but part of the slide will be included in Ye-san's the article, I think. And maybe yes, and maybe we can discuss later that if we can how do I say, archive this discussion presentation roundtable, and for example, put that on the YouTube for the audience to be reviewed later. Yes. Okay. So thank you, Helen. Okay, thank you. So thank you so much, yeah. Okay, so then the next presenter is Mishima-san, Misako Mishima. And Misako Mishima's background is botany, and she manages the herbarium of the university. And she started practical museum research around 2006 and has led the historical furniture project at Kyushu University since 2009. And she is now a staff of the Kyushu University Museum and a professor for the Department of Kansei Studies, Graduate School of Integrated Frontier Sciences. And Mishima-san, are you ready?
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
okay, Tsunefuka-kun, please stop the screen sharing on our side. Okay? And Mishima-san, maybe you can make the slide the full screen? I think it is. Is it full screen or not?
Yeah, I think there's a way that you could make it full screen. On the left hand side.
But somewhere when we tested, I think it was okay. Better?
Yes,
I
yes,
think
yes,
it's better.
yes.
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
I see.
Oh, great.
Okay.
It's nice. Yes.
So, can I start it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you, Mama-san. And hello, everyone. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to give this presentation today. Unfortunately, I couldn't reach the topics of this title, so I'd like to a little bit change my talk like this. Then, this is the guide of my talk today. First, I'd like to introduce myself briefly. My name is again Misako Mishima. I born in Tokyo, grew up in Chiba, Kanto districts here, and I arrived at the Kyushu University Museum in 2002 in Fukuoka City here. Then, my original background and research interests were based on biology, especially plant speciation and polyploid evolution. And it was. On the other hand, for around 2006, I also became interested in museum studies. There were several reasons why, but the most significant one was the influence from the specialists of museum educator. Now, so, I currently focusing on both natural history, sciences, and experimental museum studies. Secondly, I'm going to talk about my university and museum. There are flows leading up to the current university. It was started from the domain school, the end of the Edo period, and it was transferred to old university. And the new faculties have been established step by step. After World War II, the old university was combined with several old schools. The university was reconstructed under the new education system and restarted. If you want more precise history of Kyushu University, please visit the website of the university archive. Then Along with such history, there are a lot of specimens in the university. For Kyushu University, it is known that about 45 to 75 million specimens are accumulated. I heard that about 80% of the specimens are insects. For these huge collections, in 1971, Kyushu University launched a preparatory committee to establish a museum. For about 20 years after that, there was no progress except for the booklet. In 1996, the Ministry of Education in Japan at the time promoted the establishment of university museums in Japan. And then, finally, the Kyushu University Museum was founded in 2000. On the other hand, a project has been launched by the university. It was campus relocation. The relocation was carried out intermittently for about 15 years, like this. And now, the museum and the university archives are still located in the conservation area on the old campus. This is a map of a part of Fukuoka City. Here is the right-hand star signal. It is old campus named Hakozaki, and left-hand red-colored area named Ito is new campus. By car, it spends about 40 minutes using the highway, and without the highway, maybe 1 hour. If you use public transportation, it will take about 1 hour and a half. This is the old campus. It's now undergoing development. A preservation area, colored in red, is holds 5 old buildings here. And I'm now in this building. The building was constructed in 1930. It was partially opened as a museum. Next, I'd like to introduce a few examples of the student participation in the museum. I tried to list up the past participation patterns in my museum like this, based on the self-motivation, through educational classes, or others. Many of the students I have worked with are in the first category. After the campus relocation, the students of this category also became far from the museum, meaning they decreased. So the second category, through educational classes, has become important recently because the first and second classes held at the new campus. But today, I'd like to introduce an example of this second category, part 3, especially the participation by the other faculties. One day, I got an email from a teacher of the Faculty of Design. She is Dr. Yuki, who arrived at the university in 2022 from a German university. And she has a class including exchange students. Yuki and one more foreign teacher, Ariane, lead the class. They came to the museum with students several times and watched around the building, exhibition room, stage, and frequently discussed. Then the students make up a practical program. And they did a workshop using the museum facilities. At the workshop, there was about 15 participants. Most of them were the first time to visit this museum. This example made me realize that increasing the opportunities for teacher use of the museum is crucial for student participation. And also, through such use by practical classes like this time, I realized that the students' unique perspectives provided fresh views to the museum. Then I'd like to mention one more example of the mixed patterns. Student A, he was a master course student and had a high literacy for museums. He had art project in the urban area of Fukuoka City with his friends. He asked me to use several pieces of furniture from our museum collection. In final, they completed their project successfully. The pieces of furniture are used like this. At the event, I met several students and have a chance to talk with them. Student B, she was one of the master course students who helped student A. She had an interest in the interior, so I asked her to do a part-time job related to furniture research for 2 months. After the jobs were finished, I didn't have a chance to meet with her for a while. One day, she mailed me that she and her friends were planning to create an art installation at the gallery in Fukuoka City. In this case, they didn't use the museum itself and also the specimen. But she said the discussion, the job, the experience in the museum were quite beneficial for her, and it became the inspiration for her works. It was very fantastic installation like this. This slide mentions the cascade of these examples. This kind of participation might have a wider meaning, so participation says rather. But I think this kind of personal connection and sequential participation by the next student are quite useful for expanding student participation in university museum. Issues and perspectives. Today, I introduce my university and state of my museum, and then I mentioned 2 examples of student participation pattern. One is the education classes by teachers of the other faculties, and the other is a sequential participation sense-lato. My presentation mentioned that the power of individuals worked well. These examples aren't the results of the intended one. So, creating a system to induce this kind of valid situation may be useful. It's like a system the teacher can actively use in their classes. All students can actively use in their voluntary action. For my museum, I know that to increase the reputation of museum in the university is basically important. Everybody has gone from the old campus, and they are forgetting the old campus and the museum. So I want some idea or plenary example in each university to help this kind of issues. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mishima-san, for your presentation. And yes, it is a very big problem that the university campus is separated and quite far each other. And Keio University do not have experienced the relocations, but we have separated campus.
Yes.
Hiyoshi campus for the, how do I say, the younger student from first grade to second grade, yes. And the kind of senior student is with us on the Tokyo campus. And the 2 campus is not very far, 30 minutes, 40 minutes on train, but the culture of the campus is quite different. And student group are separated and faculties are separated. That's very, we can totally understand the situation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I think we don't have any questions coming in. So we are so punctual. Yes. So we are moving on to its final presenter, Elena-san. Elena and Lee.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. So I will do the very brief introduction of Elena and Lee. So Elena has worked in the culture sector for over 20 years, holding a variety of roles in marketing, communications and partnerships and development for Museum Victoria, the National Gallery of Australia, and the University of Melbourne's Victorian College of the Arts and Melbourne Conservatorium of Music before joining the university's museums and collections team. And Lee, working with Elena, she is with a background in the culture sector. She has held various roles across marketing, communications, sponsorship, and general management. Prior to joining the museums and collections department, she has worked in organizations such as Melbourne Festival, South Bank Centre London, Melbourne International Comedy Festival, and Arena Theatre Company over the past 15 years. So now I would like to hand it over to Elena.
Hello, thank you. And thank you to my fellow presenters for the generosity in sharing your experiences and expertise. I will try and keep to time. I've got a number of slides. Please let me know if I'm running over.
Okay.
Screen. Good. Here we go.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Today, you might have guessed, you might have sensed from my introduction, my perspective today is coming from a marketing and audience engagement point of view. And the topic of my talk is putting students at the heart and rethinking the place of students in audience development in university museums. I job share my role with Lee Casey. Lee is not here today, so I'm talking on her behalf. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm talking to you today from the Wurundjeri land, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the unceded land on which I speak today. Today, I'll talk to you about the operating context, a bit more about the University of Melbourne and the Museums and Collections Department, talk a bit about our developing new approach, and then share some learnings and reflections in this program of work. A little bit about the University of Melbourne. We have a student population of over 50,000, so it's a big audience for us to consider. Approximately 40% of those are international students. The University of Melbourne developed a strategy in 2020 that we call the Cultural Commons Strategy, and it outlines the significance and the role of our cultural assets in teaching and learning and research. And in that strategy, we talk about the university's 15 galleries and museums, and that the university has more than 40 individual collections. We also have state-of-the-art performing arts facilities, as well as the museums and galleries. In 2021, the Museums and Collections Department was formed, and that's actually been an important moment in our thinking because it has allowed us to consolidate resources and expertise and really begin to think about who our shared audiences are. Just want to reflect a bit on the difference of my approach today. I have, this is the structure of our Museums and Collections team. Lee and I lead the engagement team, and in our team we have marketing, public programming, partnerships and visitor services. There is another team that is specifically looking at science and academic programming. So they look at the curriculum experiences, embedded curriculum experiences, connecting our museums with the student curriculum. And we also have a team that looks specifically at experiences for school students. So that, and then we have curators in our art museums team, and then a supporting, we have operations teams and collections team. So I acknowledge we're fairly well resourced, and it means, yeah, I acknowledge that we're fairly well resourced. So these are the venues that our teams look after. The first is Buxton Contemporary Art Museum. We will reopen the Ian Potter Museum of Art next year. Ian Potter Museum of Art is home to the University of Melbourne's art collection. We also have Science Gallery Melbourne, Old Quad Treasury, M Pavilion Parkville and Granger Museum. I won't be talking about all of those today. A little bit more on the few that I am going to talk about. The first is Buxton Contemporary. We opened that in 2018. It sits on the South Bank campus, which is the home of the Victorian College of the Arts and Conservatorium of Music. So it's really well placed to be integrated into the student experience. We present 3 exhibitions per year there. And up until fairly recently, the focus on audience development has very much been on the general public. Science Gallery Melbourne opened in 2022. It's part of a global science gallery network that began in Trinity College, Dublin. And it has a specific focus on youth audiences, on young people between 15 and 25 years of age. And then we have M Pavilion Parkville, which we opened last year. And this is, rather than a collections and exhibitions based experience, this has very much a public programming approach. And we launched the first program in semester 2 last year. So before the last 2 years, I'd say the way we thought about our audiences when we thought about marketing and promotion, we really thought, we often thought first about our general public audiences. So people out in Melbourne, out in the world who weren't necessarily associated with the university. We did, of course, think about university students and staff, but they weren't necessarily always the focus of our marketing activity. However, in the last couple of years, the university began to really clearly articulate some key strategies around the student life and student experience, as well as a new strategy that articulated a new approach to education and curriculum. And we thought that these two strategies in particular created a bit of a challenge for us to think very differently about our approach to program development, the way we thought about students in particular, and how we could change or modify our offer to more directly target student experience and the curriculum experiences. So at the beginning, all we had really was a set of questions. We began to think about our unique spaces and buildings and how we could offer those up to students in different ways and create more welcoming experiences for students who might be feeling isolated. We also began to wonder how we could meet the university's sort of new innovative curriculum teaching challenge, and how could we grow our student audiences and make them more of a specific focus of our activity. So I'm going to take you through some examples of what we began to try over the last little while. The first thing to note, I think, is that we did a few things in the background. So we looked at our scheduling of our exhibitions and realigned those to the academic calendar to really make the most of exhibitions being open during semester times, so we could get more students through our exhibitions. We, of course, like other speakers tonight, we also do employ students as staff. Science Gallery Melbourne in particular employs students in mediator and learning roles. We began to also invest in the creation of informal study spaces within our venues, so students could come in, use our spaces casually, not when they're coming to see an exhibition in particular, but sit and talk and be with friends. We also created some new roles in the team with a specific focus on programming for audiences, and also began to think about academic roles in our academic engagement team to create more integration between our team and academics in other faculties and across the university. So one of the examples I'll talk to tonight is the way we program for students. One of those examples is a program called Friday Night Socials at Science Gallery Melbourne. And really, since the beginning of the first exhibition 2 years ago, we present 4 of these per exhibition, and they are developed in collaboration with students, along with our head of programming and our programming producer. And really, they're a way of using the exhibition theme to create a sort of unique programs and events for our students to come and visit us with friends after hours. And we're finding it's kind of an accessible way for us to present our exhibitions to the student audience. M Pavilion Parkville has also had a student-led approach to programming in a different way. The pavilion itself is situated in a kind of thoroughfare sitting between a number of faculties, and so students are often walking through the pavilion. And so we really had to think hard about how we could attract students to that space and keep them and make it a comfortable space for them. And in order to do that, we worked with student clubs and societies, and colleagues in my team created a program that involved music, but also involved food. Food scarcity is a big problem for our student cohort. And so we've really, in semester 2 last year, we engaged over 700 students in these events, and really kind of leveraging the student sort of leisure experiences. So whether it's making bubble tea, debating was one, it was a really popular workshop, and even things like chess tournaments and free soup. We recently did an expression of interest for the 2024 program, and we've had a number of students put forward ideas for the program. And the third example I'd like to talk to is something called Uncommon Room, and that's really just working with colleagues across the campus to create a unique space during the periods in semester where students are studying. So formal classes have finished, they're now studying, and they're looking for places to be with friends and study. And so we created an Uncommon Room in the Science Gallery, Melbourne. That experience provided discounted coffee, free food, games, and study spaces for students. The fourth example is probably my favourite, and it's one that's only just started last year. And I think it's actually the sweet spot of some of this activity, because it's a partnership with our public programs team and our academic engagement team. So it sits both in public programs and formal curriculum. And it involved students from the Melbourne Conservatorium of Music who were undertaking a subject called concert creation. And as part of that subject, so for credit, they spent time with the curators and in the gallery and exhibition. They also researched the development of contemporary art exhibitions themselves. And the outcome was a concert for the general public, to which we sold tickets. And I just think that's just this lovely way of integrating the curriculum experience with a public audience outcome. So from that program, we're running that same program again this year with the current exhibition. And this is just a couple of quotes from the academic who led that particular subject, as well as the student. A quote from student, just to give you a sense of the impact a program like that can have. So some initial reflections. I think what we're learning, and this is, we're probably 18 months to 2 years into this sort of student-focused approach. I think definitely those operational shifts we made have helped this focus. I think we're finding that exhibitions and our collections can be wonderful inspirations for student-centered programs and events. I think we can't forget student enrichment and experiences in our spaces. So it doesn't necessarily have to be formal programs or formal curriculum. Our spaces themselves can be unique experiences for students. And finally, as I mentioned in the previous slide, that collaboration between colleagues in our academic and engagement and curatorial teams that are delivering those public outcomes is really exciting. I suppose, are we noticing any changes in this work, or is this work having any impact? And I think the initial data seems to be saying that we are getting more students visiting our museums than we had before. So in the case of Buxton Contemporary, student visitation used to represent a relatively small portion of overall visitation, but that increased by 10 to 12% in 2023. I think we're beginning to get a sense that our work is contributing to the university's reputation. The university certainly calls on us when they want to talk about cultural impact, student life, and innovative curriculum. And we're finding that this approach is deepening collaboration across different parts of a really large university. We're building connections out into different departments and teams. And I think what I'm beginning to reflect on, if you remember that colourful slide at the start around where we kind of, we had originally thought more about general public audiences, we are beginning to think about an audience development model that might have university students at the heart of what we do. Also, everything we do will also involve formal learning, student learning, university staff and alumni, and of course, general public. But I think it's a really significant shift for us as a team to think about university students at the heart of what we do. I do want to give a call out to my colleagues in the formal academic engagement team and public programs because they do a really important work in this space. And so I promised them I'd share their details, and if people are interested in following up, please do. And then my question, I think, for the roundtable discussion is just that how do we continue to ensure our museums are visible to students in the broader university, particularly in, the University of Melbourne is a large university. We are not usually seen as a core business, or and so how do we build our profile and make our experiences and work visible to students? And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Helena. You are in time. Great.
Good. Thank
Yes.
you.
And
Thank you.
yes, and I think we have a very quick question about your presentation. And as we have some time here, so can you answer the question? Do you see
Sure.
the questions from Nay
Do we involve students in the initial planning stage?
and
Yes.
yeah.
Yep. Hang on, we've got two, haven't we? Are your exhibitions also based on student demographics? And so the question is, are your exhibitions also based on student demographics and targeting a linguistically diverse student audience? Our exhibitions can be based on student demographics. We do some research, and our curatorial team do consider the student profile. So, for example, our next exhibition at Science Gallery Melbourne is a collaboration with the Museum of Singapore, and it's focusing on the representation of Asian women in science fiction. And so there's a very good, strong alignment. We knew that that's a big part of the university community. So it was really interesting to us to work in collaboration with the museum in Singapore. So sometimes it absolutely does inform our choices around exhibition themes. Science Gallery in particular has a model of consultation with the range of different groups before the exhibition is developed. The second question, Neeti, is did you involve students in the initial planning stage? Yes, we can, particularly at Science Gallery Melbourne. The methodology does involve students in the planning stage. In the programming, in the development of our public programs, yes, in the case of Friday Night Socials at Science Gallery Melbourne, students are involved in the development and conceptualisation of the program, and depending on where they are in their cycle, they receive a certain level of support.
Okay, thank you. And yeah. And yes, we have another question from Nati. And I think this is, yes, this can be answered very quickly by Elena. Is it okay? Yeah. Right. So do you collaborate with other museums in Melbourne?
Yes. Sometimes the answer is to that question. We're growing our network. We definitely talk to colleagues in other museums and galleries around Melbourne and Australia, and in forums like this, always seeking to kind of grow our expertise.
Okay, thank you so much. So we are very quick. So maybe we can have a 5 minutes break before the discussion. Sure, yeah. So we will restart the roundtable around 8. I mean, in 5 minutes, 8 in Tokyo
Japan,
time. Yeah. Okay, let's have a 5 minutes break.
Okay.
Thank you. So shall we restart the session? Is it okay? Yes. And so maybe it is good to start if we have questions to each other. Do you have any questions to each presentation or something to ask? Or
Yes, I'd like to ask participant, how do you recruit students to your project?
Recruit?
Yes, recruit the students to each project. I know that in Melbourne there's, for example, but do you take any different approaches, or it's same, or?
Yeah, it can be. So we did an expressions of interest for one of our programs. So we sent information out through various student lists. It can be really difficult at reaching students through university channels.
Yeah.
We are beginning to make relationships with different faculties and different teams, and they can sometimes help distribute information. And then it's a matter of following up. I think sometimes the best thing is relationships. So if you know a particular tutor or lecturer, that is often the best way to secure involvement rather than any formal kind of communication. I'd be interested to hear what other people say.
Thank you very much. It's quite same in chemical, right? We
Yes.
make an open application, but the percentage is not that, I mean, large in the university still. The chemical, no.
Yeah, no.
So we can't reach out to many students. So the personal connection means quite big at this moment.
So
right?
I think that's because the members of Chemicom is kind of, so they are many are from art history department. That's why.
Yes,
Because
that's
we
one thing, yeah.
contacted the faculty of art history department and asked them to invite students or circulate our flyers.
Yes,
Yeah.
even if we make it open, we still need personal connection and yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. How about the case in Singapore?
Right, I think quite similar to both KO and as well as Uni Melbourne. A lot of our collaborations with students happen through channels that we've already built up throughout the years because we have quite a good repertoire of like professors who keep on working with us for module collaborations. So that's always the best channel to reach out through. But I think increasingly with the two programs that I've just shared with everyone, those are run purely through open calls, right? And we're starting to see that I think when we kind of do marketing in a certain way or when we frame our programs in a certain way, I think it reaches a wider audience of students, right? And I think that diversity really does help because I think when students from all across kind of come to the museum, right? And again, through word of mouth, I think it's really powerful. Like Mishima-san just presented, right? Like relationships between students are really important to us as well, right? So our student interns, kind of tell their friends about us and working with us, and then that's how we kind of keep growing our audiences, I think. Yeah.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
How about Mishima-san? How about in Kyushu University?
Yeah, one channel is the undergraduate school's liberal arts class. The students join maybe at least 50 to 100 students join the class, and we keep it in as omnibus style. And at that time, for example, I emphasize, usually we welcome your join. I usually say so. But previously, several students tried to establish the museum club as voluntary activity, but the corona has begun. So the trial already finished. And next channel is part-time job. The calling part-time job. One student from one faculty, he or she joined the part-time job, and then he or she lead the other student. After that, the human, the personal chain is go increasing. So the two channels are common in Kyushu University, I think.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yes, it is interesting that personal connection is quite
Yes, yes, it's
important.
folding or
Yes.
sites.
Do you have any questions to each other?
I actually really enjoyed the reflections in your first presentation, Golki, and you around the learnings that you're having around the student, how important student ownership and leadership is of the programs, the diversity of the student cohort, and measuring the impact of our work. I think those three things are spot on, and I think many of us could share the same reflections. Do you have anything further to say about those in particular? I think it's super important.
Acknowledge the differences is really important, but at the same time, it's the age of AI now. So we also need to educate all students to bridge the gap in terms of digital literacy, I'll say, to keep not in the same page, but to let them not left behind and continue their work not only in the university museum but also in the academic and the real field. I think that's also important, and we're trying to do in IES.
And I think this might be connected to Singapore's case, but there may be characteristic of our activities that we invite many generations in the workshop or student program. So because we have we say integrated school, we have attached school from elementary school to the high school.
Through high school,
So we have. How old are they in the elementary school? The first
elementary grade? From 6 or 7.
6 or 7 children, and a graduate school students. So we have generations of participants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, that's really interesting, you and Goki, because I think when you were presenting about how you named KO Museum Commons, you mentioned that Commons is a site for play, right? And I really see that coming through in the way that your programs are run. I see that like students are unafraid to kind of use, your collections to kind of come up with all these programs that are quite exciting. I think we're still finding it a little hard for us to do that as well. I think especially because NUS Museum as a museum has kind of established itself as quite an intellectually rigorous space. So I think we're still finding it difficult to find students to play with our collections, like in the way that KO does. So I think that was really insightful. But I think I just wanted to comment on the question that you asked towards the end about credit bearing, about how do you give credit to student involvement within the university museum, right? So in our museum, we have a unit called the Faculty Engagement Unit. So we reach out to different faculty members all before the semester starts, right? So before semester starts, we have something called a prospectus, right? So a prospectus is like a document that we issue to different faculties to kind of show what the museum can do in terms of like module planning, co-teaching, collections access, right? So we collaborate with professors on the courses that they might be running for the semester. And then as part of the course, coming to the museum also bears credit, right? So projects that they do based on our collections and our exhibitions can bear credits within their own modules. And I think that's our only kind of way of doing credit bearing stuff at the museum. But yeah, in terms of like measuring how effective student involvement might be, I think that's still difficult. I'm not sure whether we even do it ourselves even, right? Because I think it's quite difficult to kind of put a metric to how much students are engaged. Yeah, so I think that's a question that I still have, like, I'm not really sure of, I think. Yeah. Mm.
Yes. How about the first discussion point about how to reward the students?
Reward or give
credit,
credits or
the
acknowledge
recognition,
their works. Yeah, I think that's very, very difficult. Yes, and we also like to give credits, but it's quite hard in current situation, right? So in KO,
Yes,
mean,
maybe
in
in K. I'm not sure this is a particular thing in KO, but it is a characteristic of Japanese university. So it is based on my understanding, Japanese universities' credit system is very strict. Stiff. And so it's a kind of normal lecture series. So 15 times lectures, 2 credit. It is very old and rigid, and they do not usually give credit to the the activities outside the classroom.
Right.
Yeah.
Going back to does the program that you give credits is it a class like a class that's not like defined as a regular class in NUS, or is it different, or how do you like actually measure or give credits for that?
Right. Usually these credit-bearing modules are part of a curriculum already. So before the semester even starts, right? So faculty will plan the curriculum for the semester, obviously. And then as part of that curriculum, they will include the museum engagement as part of that already, right? So where all the programs that are credit-bearing are already embedded within the curriculum is what I'm trying to say. I hope that makes sense, yeah. So as for the programs that I've just shared with you just now, they are not credit-bearing at all. They're purely based on like student interest and student involvement, right? So none of that's credit-bearing. Yeah.
Do you have any comments or idea on this point, Helena?
So my colleagues in our academic engagement team are better placed to talk about that, but they do integrate our experiences with subjects, the curricular experiences. So we do have, sorry, I think my internet connection's unstable, but we do have experiences with our museums that do give credit to students. But my colleagues, Kyla and Ethel, would be able to provide more information on how that happens. It might be about the way the university system works here in Australia that might be different. I'm not sure.
Thank you so much. So yes, I feel that in Japanese universities or maybe in Japanese museums, so this kind of student activities are, how do I say, thought to be voluntary. So we
Yes,
asked so much, so many
Misako-san,
times.
talked in her,
But we discussed if it should be voluntary or paid.
Yes, at the first phase,
Yes. We discussed quite a lot about if they should be paid, but maybe if we make it voluntary job, maybe, how do I say, the financially.
Yes, so, the students who has financially
not financially.
Yes.
I mean, not rich. So maybe only rich students who do not need to work for their tuition can join the museum. And I think that is not a very good thing at least in the university museum. Right. So we decided to make it a paid job. But I personally feel that if it's better if we can make many options. So maybe it's better if we can offer paid job, credit, so volunteer job or something. So if we can make many options for students that they can choose, I think it's better.
Yes, that would be one way to give other ways to acknowledge their work. And also think in Australia, the micro credential system is now like a big topic. I'm not sure. In Japan, it's not well like I mean well speaked yet, but giving some credential or certificates to the student might be useful in an alternative way. Yes.
Thank you. So maybe we can check the discussion point we shared, yes, in the presentation. So there are so many interesting discussion points, and we have discussed the first one. And yes, do you have any points you would like to discuss here? Anyone?
I think, I mean, you can, there are lots of different online questionnaire tools these days. I don't think, so I think you can construct questionnaires that go to the impact, that ask about the impact of the experience with students. You could say, did this program make you think differently about the University of Melbourne? So these are the kinds of questions we will ask in surveys. Did the visit to the museum today make you think differently about studying at the University of Melbourne? Did it make you think? So you can ask those kind of qualitative questions, but they're qualitative rather than data, quantitative data driven. And we have done some of that in the past. Interested to know how other people have evaluated their programs.
I think similarly to Elena, I think here at the museum, after every module collaboration or after every program, we kind of do like a survey as well. And again, like qualitative data, right? So yeah, again, I think it's quite difficult for us to kind of quantify that as a metric of sorts. So I think, whenever we do these kind of surveys, we have to look back on it and kind of use that as the resource for us to do the next program, right? So yeah, I think that's how we do it here. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, chemical. It's really hard to give concrete metrics and get quantitative data, but we do conduct some qualitative survey or interviews and gain those qualitative data. Yes.
Actually, I'm interested to hear from Elena about the last question that you asked. How do you continue our museums visible to the students in the university? I think here at the NUS Museum, I'm not sure what it is. It might be partly because of our location on campus. We're quite tucked away in a little corner of the campus that's rarely visited by students. But I think even when we do have students, right, I think it's quite difficult to sustain like a student visitorship, right, instead of through programs or module collaborations, right? So student visitorship via footfall is quite difficult for us. So I wonder how the other university museums do it as well.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is very difficult because I think most of the students, KO students, do not know.
Yeah, doesn't know the
and
percentage is
faculties
very
and
low. Yeah.
administrators do not know, even know chemical. Because one thing is we opened in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. And the second thing is we are kind of outside the main campus. We are kind of attached to the main campus, but it is not inside the campus. And the third point is it's the problem of our front door, entrance door. It is if you come to chemical, maybe you immediately notice that our entrance door is a kind of mirror, and nobody thinks it's the door.
First floor.
So it's beautiful.
In the photo, it looks beautiful, but it's difficult for the public, visitors to get into this building because of its
Yes.
entrance and
It is not
design. Yeah.
not like a museum.
Yeah.
Yes. So we put
No.
we are a kind of motto like we are open space and please come in.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it is very difficult. Yes. So so to increase the visibility
Yeah.
of university museum is very very
Yes.
difficult question.
Good question for us. Yeah.
Do you have any brilliant ideas to make us visible on campus?
How about you なんだろう you
Me.
the festival front
Festival.
of the
Festival.
door.
Ah, yes. Yes.
University festival.
Yeah, it's very visible for every people.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yes. In fact, from last year, we're joining the university's festival called Mitasai, and we're having a like a students exhibition at the inside the campus. So that is one way that we are continuing this year as well to
Yeah.
make our museum more visible. And
Yes. And yes, this year we will combine the museum cafe and the
Yes, right,
university
right,
festival because yes, I remember Goki did a quick survey on campus. What kind of place do you like to go on in campus? Yes, and most of the students said, if there is coffee, I will go. So we need coffee and how do you say the concept? The power?
yeah,
Tap?
the power, yes.
The power
Yes,
tap
yeah.
and coffee. So, so we will try this year
Yes.
to host a cafe
Yes. to
in
make the-
university festival.
Yeah, place more open and
Yes.
let the visitors be more relaxed and yes.
Yes. And yes, I have a very
Also, sorry,
Yeah.
I mean, I think the difficulty in getting students as general visitors that we all experience just makes the work we do with formal curriculum more important, doesn't it? Because that is the way that we can have those links with lecturers and teaching staff and students. And as you say, yeah, that word of mouth then becomes so important. So it just means that formal learning link work we do is really important to our visibility and sustainability within our teaching institutions.
Right.
Yes, I have a very quick question about the human resources to organize this kind of student activities. So how many, not exactly, but how many people or what kind of human resources do you have to organize the student activities or to communicate with students in your museum or your organization?
I was quite impressed by the large team and structured team in Melbourne. So
I know, sorry. It's because we were all consolidated. It's because we went through that restructure a couple of years ago. So I have 3 people in my team who do public programming.
Yeah.
And then in the academic engagement team, they are 5 people. But that is with remit across 40,000 students. So it is, that's so that those 5 people develop and create the links around the curriculum and co-curricular experiences. So that's our human resources dedicated to programming and academic programming. I'll be interested to know other people.
I think for us, similar numbers, except we're a lot smaller. As for public programming, I have me and another colleague of mine. So there's 2 of us for public programming, curatorial programming. As for faculty engagement, we have 2 other colleagues who take care of all faculty engagement across the campus. But whenever we do these programs, it's not just us who's kind of doing all the work, right? So a lot of the teaching and a lot of the engagement also happens with our curators as well. So we kind of share a lot of responsibility with everyone in our museum team to do these programs. Yeah.
In my museum, there are 7 researchers, and each person has a specialty for research, and what should I say? Main work is education, research, and taking care about the specimens and making exhibitions and so on. So, taking care about voluntary students, it's a voluntary action for researchers too. So the problem is in my museum, is such as an unsystematized of the such kind of activities.
Yes, and we need to say human resources is quite limited. Maybe you can share because you are the manager of the student activity.
For the students, yes, as shown in our talk, there's like 12 student members, but the working, the actual member is only myself for the chemical project, but for the others,
Yeah, so actually we have quite limited human resources here. So we have actually 3 curators. Yes, and okay. Yes. That's all we have for chemical. But of course we are joined by many part-time supporters.
yes, support.
And of course, we are helped by the many faculty members on campus. But but the faculty members on campus, like the members from the literature department, they are so busy recently, and it is very difficult to get a kind of dedicated help from them. Yeah. Yes.
As Misako-san mentioned, we all have different tasks and jobs, so we won't say it's voluntarily, but we have to do many multiple tasks and conduct student projects and other work. So I think we all struggle with the human resource and workload and other activities as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we can discuss a very interesting discussion point from Ye. So he said, how might student response to the work of curatorial and collections create a I can't pronounce this. Cyclical relationship. So insightful.
Yes, inside.
Yeah. So.
I think I was really interested to ask this question because a lot of the times when student involvement gets, whenever there's student involvement, there's always a product of that, right?
Yeah.
I wonder what happens to that product once its life cycle is over, right? Can that, add back to how we think about the curatorial? Can it add back to our curatorial projects or whatever? So I think, yeah, I wonder how it happens in other university museums, right? Because I wonder how that life cycle keeps, going in circles. Yeah.
Yes. So how we utilize the outcome of the student activities or student project?
Right.
Anybody has any comments on this?
As for the SDGs project that I showed in our talk, because the theme is SDGs, we uh, um, um, we uh, we we wanted to make all the outcomes sustainable. So we still keep all the outcomes, and I think at the high school they showed all the outcomes at a different like school festival, and let the outcomes keep it sustainable and make it visible or even after the exhibition ends. That's one example from us, but keep it cyclical is important yet task for us to keep on continuing thinking it.
I know, in our team, the team think it's very important to develop case studies and to tell stories about the work and their impact. And so, for example, we're developing a new website for one of the museums, and they're really keen to create a publishing part of that site that that has pictures of the students, the outcomes of the work, quotes from the student, and they want to build that out across time, because across months and years, because they think that's a really visible demonstration back into the university and to their teaching networks of the work, but also can act as inspiration for other students, I suppose, when they're doing similar work. So simple things like publishing platform on the website that might act as a kind of archive.
Right.
Yeah.
And also for the digital works, we put all codes and the instruction on GitHub, a platform to share all the sources. So that's another way to keep the digital outcomes sustainable for us. Yeah.
Thanks so much, you guys. I think for us at the museum, whenever we have the two programs that I've just shared, Museum Lab and the masterclass series that's about to happen, I think we're thinking of using how the students responded to our programs as ways of either programming ideas in the future, right? So some of the students have come up with really interesting ideas that we might not have had if it wasn't for them, right? Because I think they're not bound by the same kind of metrics that we are, right? Or the same parameters that we have. So they're free to think outside of the box and think outside of the museum even, right? So I think that really gives us a sensing of how we might do programs in the future as well, because this is really what they're interested in and this is what they want to see in the future, right? So I think that's really interesting for us. As for the masterclass series, I think whenever students come up with artworks that they are personally engaged in that they've created, right? That also gives us a sensing of how we might add more conversations to our curatorial process. Because, like I shared, the prep rooms in the museum are spaces where we constantly keep adding in new things, right? New voices to the exhibition, right? So I think with the master classes, it gives us a new set of lenses to look at the same topics through, right? So I think that's really helpful for us. And I think this is how we're kind of thinking about that cyclical process again, right? So thinking about how student responses are directly impacting the way we think about curatorial and collections, right? So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I think that platforms for archiving are really important. And I think we've yet to kind of find a really good one to kind of go with. So I think the ideas here are super helpful. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. And so we have some questions from the audience. And yes, okay. So about do you see the questions? What do you think about profit museum? I mean, is it important to be profitable for university museum? Or maybe we can address this question as how to value. I mean, how we can visualize the value of the museum to the university. So do you have any comments about the the meaning or the value of the university museum to the university. So I think it is quite important to visualize the value that the university museum has. And sometimes it is very difficult for the administrators or board members to understand the hidden value of the university museum.
In terms of students' participation, I think it's kind of a third place for the students. It's not a pure academic like learning space. It's not a mere part-time job, but a third place to work and also learn from each other and also from the faculty and the visitors, partners, and other stakeholders. So I think one value is that we're providing a third place for the students. Yeah. How about other museums?
I think we just always try and think about other ways we provide value and contribution and impact. So we won't generate revenue necessarily, but we can, that covers all our costs, but we can, through partnerships or philanthropy, secure funding that offsets some of our costs and makes the university's investment in us cheaper. And we can also demonstrate that kind of reputation profile level benefit around having us as part of the student experience helps them talk about the university as an innovative, dynamic, unique offering for students in a really competitive market. So we just always try and think about how we talk about our impacts because financial impact isn't something we can talk about.
I think for us, annual reports are really important for us. So,
Same here, they take a lot of time.
We do. Compiling all of our impacts that we've done, via module collaborations, programs, exhibitions, all of that are really important. They're also really important documents for us to get grants from the National Arts Council, for example, in Singapore, right? So a lot of our programs that I just shared today are also funded by the National Arts Council through a cultural matching fund. So we receive a lot of funding through that, as well as the university, of course. So yeah, our university remains free for all visitors. So yeah, a lot of us, we just operate off how much we impact our students.
Interesting. Yes. Mishima-san, do you have any comments on this?
It's difficult for me to reply yet, but I think usually universities support the activity of museum, I think. But the purpose or benefit, the concept thinking about benefit is quite different from each other. So for university, counting number. For
Counting
example,
numbers of the audience?
Yes. Number or how many students write the papers related to museums and so on is value for university. So it's difficult to follow the thinking for me. Is it okay? Sorry.
Thank you. And we have two more questions, and one from the ChemCom, our student.
Yes.
I am a member of ChemCom. Great. What can university museum staff provide to bring about unexpected discoveries, serendipity, and student growth within the limited resources available during student activities? What do you pay attention to achieve them? do you have any comments?
I think for us at NUS Museum, our interns are really important to us. I think our interns stay for beyond just the 3 months of vacation that they're attached to us for. They often extend into the semester as well. I think it's really important for us that we develop a really good rapport and relationship with our interns, student interns. So a lot of us, from different units, we take on 1 to 2 interns each, right? And I think that small number kind of gives us that time and space to kind of develop, like a rapport with the students. And I think that's really important to us, right? So with the students that I'm working with on the student-led tours, I've just started to kind of, understand how they think, how they look at art, and some of the personal struggles as well, and how they relate to the world around them. And I think that's so important, right? That one-on-one kind of relationship with our students. Yeah.
Thank you, yeah. So, yeah. So we don't have so much time remaining, but we will take the last question from Andrew. So the idea of students bringing their own ideas to the University Museum is important. Is there a difference between student engagement and student agency? Do students feel empowered to engage with the University Museum to investigate issues they want, or try to answer their own questions?
I think it's a really important question, Andrew, and I think we need to think about models of giving students agency in our programs. And we've seen a few evolutions in our public programming that is giving our students more agency in the presentation of the work or the development of the work, and gives them more freedom to explore their ideas. So for example, in the next iteration of Friday Night Socials, we will do a student edition that is more student-led, and they can be rangy and quirky and all of those things, and sometimes confronting. But that's becoming a bit of an evolution in the way we approach our work with students in the public program space.
I think
Thank you
just to
so
add
much.
to what Elena has said, Andrew, I think whenever we do student engagement, I think student agency has to be embedded within that engagement already, right? I think with the programs that I just shared just now, a lot of that is a mix of both. I think, there's a part of us kind of doing the student engagement portion, but I think there's also a lot of agency within the students to kind of respond to what we've come up with, right? And I think that's a really important part of the work that we do at the museum. As far as do students feel empowered to engage with the museum, to investigate, I think we're seeing an increase of that, right? And I think we will start seeing an increase of that when we hold space for those conversations to happen, right? I think often art can seem a bit daunting, especially for students who are not, from an art major or like a fine art practice. So I think, I think fostering that sense that like they have the agency no matter how far in how much they know about art is a really important thing for us. We don't have the right answers yet. I think we're still, figuring it out. But yeah, I think holding space is such an important part of what we do at the museum as well. Yeah.
Thank you, yeah, and Elena. So this discussion is so interesting, but unfortunately we have exceeded our scheduled time, and maybe at Melbourne it's late at night right now, so we need to close the session. So I hope we can continue sharing practices and insights like this in future, and we are again planning to publish a book based on this roundtable next spring, so we can discuss on paper about this topic together again. So please take a look at the book when it is published. So now I would like to hand it over to Yoko Watanabe, who will give the closing address.
Should I go?
Yeah.
I need a prompt. Thank you. Thank you very much. And first and foremost, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the speakers for this their high stimulating presentation and
to everyone who participated. And in addition to the extremely engaging case studies, we are pleased that the discussions were meaningful, even though the spaces are so far apart. The activities of the University Museum have become increasingly important in recent years, and the students' participation is a key point, as was deeply felt in today's presentation and discussions. Even we have the high ideal, we sometimes threatened by the financial program and the shortage of staff, so on and so on, so as we see today. But I would say that this includes that possibility of providing a multi-layered alternativity from the pedagogical point of view, I feel today. Because the museum engagement with the students is more deeply connected with the students compared to the very ordinary type of class lessons and so on. And it is a big chance for us to think with the students, not just give the classes and so on. I also learned that the student participation has the potential to open up museum activities and thus open up the university to the society. However, opportunities to learn about activities at other universities is quite rare. At Keio University, Keio Museum Commons, as we introduced, we have been developing the chemical project activities, but they are known gradually through the interest of those who visit us. In this context, today's session were extremely valuable. Introduced of creative students' engagement through Museum Love and current masterclass series at NUS Museum, and Misako insights into the role of the students in the museum activities and the challenges of the Kyushu University relocation, and Elena's concept of cultural commons as a significant cultural strategies emphasizing students' activities. All these were particularly enlightening. Tonight's session were where we learned about discussed and student engagement in University Museum is in different places has undoubtedly provided new discoveries and incitation of us all. I hope that this session has also led to some new insights and creative ideas for everyone who participated. In closing, I would like to express my deep gratitude once again to Ye, Misako, and Elena, and for participating in today's panel, and to everyone who joined us. Although we are online today, I look forward to the opportunity to meet you all at the Keio Museum Commons, which is Akichi, the creative open space, in the future. Thank you very much for you all.
So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Watanabe-san. So please come to Chemical when you visit Tokyo. And I will definitely visit Singapore University, Melbourne University, and I've already visited Kyushu University. But yes, and I hope we can discuss this topic further in future. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful organization. Thank you very much, you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
See you. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.